In this video, I'm going to be talking about the weather and the NFL. Don't worry, I'll make it entertaining for you. Plus, you'll learn some stuff and you'll make some more money. Okay, so you need to be paying attention to the weather if you're going to be betting on the NFL. It's one common mistake that a lot of people make when they're betting on the NFL. So I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about betting on the NFL and the weather. Let's do this shit. Okay, so before I get started, obviously the game has to be played outside in order for the weather to be a factor. Okay, so there are 5 teams in the NFL that have retractable stadiums: the Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, the Houston Texans, and the Indianapolis Colts. So when these teams are playing at home, just make sure you check real quick to see if the dome is going to be open or if it's going to be closed. I've always thought it's weird to play football indoors, and these teams play indoors or a dome, so there's no way that weather can be a factor for these teams. So the teams that play indoors are the Detroit Lions, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New Orleans Saints. Okay, so for NFL games, one of the most important factors of the weather is the wind. It might explain why my newspaper always ends up in the bushes. That son of a bitch. I know what you're thinking, I can't read. It's true. In fact, if you're gonna pay attention to anything with the weather, make sure you pay attention to the wind. Now, the average wind speed in a game is about 7 miles per hour, and when it's about 7 miles per hour, really there's no difference in the team's efficiency to move the ball down the field. But one key factor you want to look at when betting on the NFL is when the wind is over 20 miles per hour. For instance, when it's that windy, passing production significantly decreases, meaning teams don't throw for as much yardage. This will make lower scoring games too. It's also hard to pee in the wind too. So just keep in mind, when there's 20 per hour winds or more, the passing yardage decreases, the passing touchdown decreases, the yards per attempt decreases, the completion percentage can decrease, and clearly it makes it much harder to kick a field goal when there's 20 plus mile per hour winds. So just make sure you keep it in mind. If the wind's 20 plus miles or more and you're betting on player props or overs and unders, it can greatly impact the impact of the game or how the players perform. So make sure you remember that if you're betting on player props. You are the wind beneath my wings. All right, the next thing we need to talk about is when it rains. Make sure you bring an umbrella because you're going to get rained on. Or don't, I don't care. Okay, so basically when there's light or moderate rain, there's not a whole lot of impact on the NFL games. However, there is one key statistic that I do want to point out, and passing production does decrease by about 12%. Don't throw it to me, I don't want to catch that wet ball. I said ball. No one likes wet balls. Also, teams are more apt to kick field goals in the rain, which they increase by 85%. I know what you're thinking. The kicker's probably thrilled about that. Get out there and kick, you sack of shit. We need 3 points from you. But I don't want to. Man, I don't want to kick in the rain. However, when it's raining really hard and it's like a torrential downpour and everything, this is when a lot of players will make a lot of errors, slip and slide and throw interceptions, fumble the ball, crap their pants. Oh, I'm sure it's really just mud. But seriously, this will often lead to a lower scoring game. So keep in mind, if it's like a torrential downpour, you might want to take the under in the game. Okay, so the next thing we need to talk about is the snow. The good thing about the snow is when it's snowing, you can throw snowballs at the neighbor's kids. I'll teach those little shits to play in my yard. Okay, so when it's snowing, obviously there's a decrease in passing production. For instance, when it's a light snow, there's about a 2% decrease in pass production. A more important factor of when it's snowing heavy is there's a 25% drop in passing production. But when there's really snowy conditions, it does affect teams when they're kicking field goals. Clearly, they don't want to kick as many field goals during snowstorms. And field goals convert at 76%, which is actually 7% less than the league average when there are no weather conditions. So just keep in mind, if there is a game that you're interested in and then there's a heavy snowstorm coming, that's when the numbers are greatly affected. When there's a light snow or light rain even, the numbers aren't really affected that much. Okay, so the actual temperature for the NFL game can have an impact on the game. Typically, there is no change in statistics when the weather is between 55 and 85 degrees. However, when it's colder and it's like 25 to 55 degrees, passing production does decrease by 5%. When the temperature is below 25, defenses hold up better. Passing production is decreased by about 8%. So this will result in lower scoring games when it's colder. So just remember, when it's colder, players have a harder time moving around, getting their body warmed up, lower scoring games. When the temperature is above 85 degrees, what happens is defenses get tired. They have to wear all these pads. They get tired of running, just carrying more weight around. It's hot out. They need a water break. So what happens is offenses tend to score more, and since defenses are tired, it leads to higher higher scoring games when it's hotter. Alright, so what did we learn in this video? Not a damn thing. That's not true at all. You learn that the wind is the most important factor when betting on the NFL. For instance, when there's heavy winds of 20 miles per hour or more, there are decreased passing stats, less field goals are kicked, and they tend to be lower scoring games. When there's heavy rain during a football game, pass production is decreased by 12%. There are more field goals kicked, and a lot more players will make mistakes such as fumbling or throwing interceptions. And also head coaches treat their kickers like dogs. Get out there and kick, you piece of crap. When it snows heavily during an NFL game, there's a 25% decrease in pass production and less field goals are kicked. Now, the overall temperature can affect an NFL game. For instance, when it's colder, passing production does decrease. Defenses seem to play better, meaning they give up less points, so you should take the unders. However, when it's hotter than 85 degrees, passing production does go up and teams will score more points. This is because the defense gets tired quicker. So just remember, colder, lower scoring games, hotter, higher scoring games. And that's pretty what you need to know when you're betting on the NFL and the weather is involved. I say involved like they're in a relationship. Okay, so one easy way that I use to check the weather at a glance is I go to NFLweather.com. This is a 100% free site, and basically it will show you every game that's going on, and you can quickly check the weather. You can easily at a glance check on the stadium and see if the roof is open or closed. So it's really just a good idea to check on the weather in any game that you're going to be betting on, because you don't want to be betting on like the over for a specific quarterback and then realizing that it's going to be heavy snow and 30-mile-per-hour winds. Okay, so just make sure you're checking the weather real quick before you place any bets in the NFL. It really can give you an edge. And make sure you use your head. Like when you're placing these bets, if you're going to take an under and the team has no defense, but the weather's bad, it may not be a good idea to place that under bet. But most importantly, when there's extreme weather conditions, that's when I bet heavily on the NFL. And clearly make sure that if it's a team with a retractable stadium, that their roof is actually open if you're going to be playing on the weather. But anyways, leave a comment. Let me know what's worked for you and what you look out for when you're betting on the NFL and the weather. Or just say something weird in the comments. I don't really care. Now make sure you like this video if it helped you. There's always a crap load of links in the description. Does anybody ever read my descriptions? I might throw a riddle in there one day. You can win $1 million if you solve that riddle. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And I'm out. I gotta go pee in the wind.